Barely 3 days into the new year, the government in Taraba State reported the outbreak of Lassa fever in the state. The commissioner also confirmed 1 death from the viral disease and 2 persons on observation. As of 12th of January, government declared that across 10 states, 41 deaths had been recorded. Now, this is not the first time Nigeria is experiencing the outbreak of Lassa fever. In 2012, Nigeria battled the disease in 12 states. 40 people were victims of the outbreak. The federal government created the Lassa Fever Rapid Response Committee with the sole aim of controlling and preventing the spread of the disease. A similar outbreak in 2014 claimed 20 lives. Nigeria was first hit by Lassa fever in 1969 in Lassa town, Borno State, the obvious reason for the name tag of the virus. Lassa fever, a zoonotic virus, is transmitted when a human comes into contact with an infected rat's feces, urine, or the body fluids of an infected human. Again, Nigeria suffers an outbreak, but this time the information takes time to get to the public. At the Lassa Fever Research Center in Irua, Edo State, 19 positive cases have been confirmed since November 2015. Just like the Ebola virus, the Lassa fever diagnosis and treatment is handled with a more protective clothing. Confirmed cases are isolated to prevent the spread.
It's important for them to know how to prevent coming in contact with a rat and its excrement. And that's why we say avoid bush burning, plug the holes where rats enter your house, make sure your foods are well covered in rat-proof containers, make sure that you cook your food well before you eat. Things like gari that we normally process on the outside, before you eat them, make sure that if you're not using them for eba, you're going to use them to eat soak as gari as just put in water. Sometimes we say reheat it because temperature kills the Lassa fever virus. That's very important. If you see family members that are ill and the fever is not subsiding after taking the 1 or 2 days of anti-malaria, you must get them to the hospital and avoid significant contact with them and the fluids that may come out from them, and let the hospital take care of the rest. Now, we always advise the patients to come early. We also advise the health workers to have a high index of suspicion so that from the periphery they can refer the patients early. When you are referred early and will commence your specific therapy, chances of recovery is very good. But when they come late, particularly the later you come, the chances that we may not succeed. On the overall, when we started in about 2008, the mortality was still quite high, but now it's been reduced to less than 30%. And I know we can do better than this if we have a little bit more than we have right now.
If you look at the breasts, you can count them. Then I want to count. Maybe you can follow me to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 on each side of the ventral surface of the rodent. Usually, is a multi-mammoth rat, and it breathes like anything. So that's what you've just seen, and then we are showing you the ventral surface. Most people have this picture, but they have not seen the other picture there. So what we try to do is to educate the community. We have the rodents, and it is real that the rodent is with us, and it usually breeds surfaces and areas where we have poor hygienic condition. And the message is that ensure your house is of good hygiene, and immediate environment should be of good. The quality of hygiene should be high. And if you have an environment which quality of hygiene is high, you are sure you are going to keep these rodents from coming to where you are. And so those market people that have their wares or their goods and they leave them, they don't know that I am actually inviting the rodents. Students will go to buy things, and when they buy those things, they leave them inside their kitchen tops, and they don't cover them, they don't warm them. They actually are asking these rodents to come. So they are everywhere, but they're not as common as the ratus. But like we have shown us already, the rodent is with us in West Africa, is with us in Edo State, and it's with us here.
According to health experts, symptoms of Lassa fever show up anytime between 1 and 3 weeks after infection. The symptoms also vary and include fever, abdominal pain, vomiting, diarrhea, facial swelling, protein in the urine, encephalitis, and mucosal bleeding. The virus is endemic to many parts of West Africa, including Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Liberia, and is treated with an antiviral drug called ribavirin. But doctors say the government has not paid much attention to the preventive measure and the provision of emergency treatment tools.
Well, we have some facilities, but we could do with a lot more. We can make our diagnosis with PCR. We have an isolation ward. We also have a renal diagnostic center, because one of the problems with Lassa fever is renal failure. And so we have some machines for dialysis dedicated to such patients. But we also know that some of the causes of death are cardiorespiratory and neurological. And we need monitors and intensive care specifically designed for these patients. So we still need some of these facilities to help us limit the rate of mortality. I'll give you an example. When we started the work in Lassa fever, we found out that one of the causes of death was renal failure. And therefore we made allowances and got some new dialysis machine. And we have further reduced the rate of death from Lassa fever, even when they don't come so early, because we are now able to treat the renal disease while we are giving the specific drug for Lassa fever. We are lucky. For now, we have Ministry has provided us personal protective equipment. They have provided us with ribavirin, and therefore we can do the basics. But if we are to get more equipment now, I'll need an intensive care center. We'll need more laboratory equipment so that we can support these patients with more laboratory investigations, because apart from just making a diagnosis of Lassa fever, you will also need to monitor the renal status, the liver status, the hematological parameters. And, because many of them can bleed, we need to know what's causing the bleeding, and we need to know the factors to replace. Once we can do all this, then we are likely to save more lives from Lassa fever.
In making a case made a case repeatedly for the establishment of centers of this nature in the other geopolitical zones in the country or health zones in the country. because Nigeria is a vast country. And again, as you said earlier, you don't want a situation where patients with viral hemorrhagic fevers, Lassa fever, are managed in ordinary ward and facilities. You want dedicated facilities for them. But as we speak, sadly, I'm not aware that these centers have attained any stage of replication elsewhere.
You can appreciate the peak of this graph, and it tells you that every January, February, November, December, we have the peak. And then we are not waiting for those months for us to do anything. In this Institute of Lassa Fever Research and Control, we've been able to look at the trend. And sincerely speaking, it's a dry season event. And even though sometimes it goes through the rainy season, but the dry season event, what it means is that before the dry season, then the country, everybody should be on high alert, because dry season with bush burning, gaming of rats and other things, and spreading of products on the ground are the things that breed. And if you look at the graph very well, they are consistent. November, December, January, and where are we? We're in January. That's why we're having these outbreaks all over the country.